Show. We're live at RJ's Pub in Rochester Hills. He is the coach, Greg Campy. My name is Neil Rule. Happy to have you all with us here tonight. Camp, how you doing, my friend?
Actually, I'm doing really well. I know that Saturday was a disappointment for people. It was especially a disappointment for our players and us. But I think if you really step back and look at it, that was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen by a basketball team in our building. Especially a same level team as us. Obviously, Oklahoma State was pretty good a year ago here. We might not have been as good a team as we are this year. But I just think, it was a tough night after that because Saturday could have ended one of the greatest weeks in Oakland history. I mean, to do what we did last week and then not finish it I wasn't happy about it. But as I took the time to really reflect on it, look at it and everything, we were asking our kids to do a lot. The emotion of Monday night and how that played out, a 5-hour bus drive. Then you're playing your arch rival, a team that we talk about every day, every practice. Well, there's 30 days left to Detroit, and then to be emotional after that game, find a way to win. We didn't play very well in the first half. I credit Detroit more for that than us. We really were unbelievable defensively in the second half, and then you have to come back in 3 days and play a team in league play. You don't like playing league play this early. We had played 8 games. We had played very well in all 8 games. You knew there was a game coming that, we might not have the hop in our step and things like that. And it happened to be Saturday, and the team took advantage of it. It's one game. It's over. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't even looked at the film of it. To me, it was a one-off, and we're on our way to Toledo. So I'm doing a lot better than I thought I would be when I walked out of the arena on Saturday.
Well, as we talked about, good to have everybody out here again at RJ's Pub in Rochester Hills. Remember, you can get involved in the show as well. Send us a tweet. All you got to do is put the hashtag AskCampy on the end of it, and we will read those in camp. We have a ton of Ask Campy questions this week. So
yeah, we got Jack Goki coming in here too.
And we do. He is here. He's over there right now.
I told him I'd buy him dinner, and sure, you were probably here at 5, right?
He was, as a matter of fact. He was. Yeah. I think he got here this morning. Yeah. There's three meals on that tab.
That's having Jack on the show is way more important than those questions. But we'll answer every one of them. We'll answer them honestly, and I've seen a couple of them, so kind of interesting, some of them. So we'll get to them, and we'll go for it. But going back to Saturday and that, I'm really, really excited about our team. We've had an unbelievable start to a season with one of the toughest schedules in the country, and it only gets harder. I mean, we play Toledo, who picked second in the MAC. They're playing a schedule. They're very similar to ours. They play a very difficult schedule. They've had some big wins, and they're coming off a couple losses to some really good teams, New Mexico and teams like that. So that should be a heck of a game. Will tell us a lot about ourselves, how we bounce back from what happened Saturday. And then we've got Eastern Michigan, which is anytime you play an in-state MAC team, obviously you recruit against them. There's always talk in the recruiting world at high schools and that about, Eastern offered this guy, and why aren't you guys doing this? So you always want to win those games. So it's a big week for us to see how we bounce back from what I think is a very uncharacteristic game.
Camp, we played obviously a lot of big-time schedules and a lot of, very, very good basketball teams throughout the year, certainly to start a season as well. But, as you talk about this week coming up, and obviously the week came off of last week, having 3 games in a week, it was an NBA-style schedule. But there's been zero break here. I mean, every single time we gotta lace them back up. We gotta fire the engines back up, and it is. Camp, I'll tell you what. There may be like Power 5 names that catch your attention more, but dollar for dollar, this schedule this year, Camp, is right up there with anyone that I've been a part of the last 12 years.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think, as true people that follow the program, if you really step back and look at it, I've had some great teams, and all those great teams played similar schedules to this. None of those teams have done what this team's done. And I'm not talking about the wins and losses, but the back-to-back efforts. And so you take the Benson team, we go and we beat the 5th or 6th ranked team in the country, Tennessee. And then 3 days later, we got to play at Ohio State. We get killed, because they're coming off the emotion of beating the number 7 team in the country or 6 or whatever they were. And then we go to Ohio State and we lose by 22 or 23. Then we play another Power 5, and I think it was a very close game. We almost won. Maybe it was Purdue. And then we go and we play another Power 5 team and we get beat really bad. This team this year could have won. Should have won at Ohio State, could have won at Illinois, wins at Xavier. Drake is a very, very good team. And people, as the season goes on, will see that they will be, unless they get injuries and things like that, they will win the Missouri Valley probably. Although Bradley, it looks like, they're getting national votes right now too. But they'll be at the top of that league and they'll win a game or two in the NCAA tournament. You'll go, oh yeah, he's right. That team's really good. So we keep playing teams like that. We played Loyola Marymount, who hasn't lost since we beat them, and they beat El Paso the other night by 30, and El Paso was 7-1 or something like that. So we're just watching all these good teams we've played, and we're going back to back to back to back and playing them. And as you said, fly to the Caymans, play, come home, got Xavier, win, go to Detroit. So that bad game was coming, and it's not an excuse. It's not anything. 17 of the top 25 teams lost last week. I mean, think about that. That's a week that's never happened in college basketball. Because of COVID, because of the age, because of the extra year, the game has changed. The difference between the top and the bottom has shrunk. And because of the age and COVID, the 50 years and all that, you're seeing these teams. Purdue loses. North Kentucky beats I forget, Memphis or somebody by 20, and then they go home and they lose to North Carolina Wilmington. I mean, it's just happening over and over again. And if you watched our Xavier game, you could have put Xavier's uniforms on our players and Oakland uniforms on Xavier's players, and you would have not known the difference. You would not have known. Oh, yeah, you would have. I mean, that's how close it was. And that's just college basketball today. So you're going to lose some games now. Not very often I've sat on that bench and looked up at a clock in the arena and saw Oakland down 30 points at home in a league game. I mean, maybe one other time in the long time I've been doing this. But it doesn't matter. It was a loss. I don't think we played bad. I don't think it was. You had a team play the greatest game they've ever played, which we reward that. I always tell people on the golf course, when I walk off the 18th green, if I lose to them and I have to pay them a few dollars,
I'll pay for quality.
I'll pay for quality, man. If it took quality to beat me, I'll pay you for that, right? And that's how I felt with Fort Wayne Saturday. That was just, I'm not sure. We made a mistake at the end of the half. We opened the second half with 2 really bad turnovers, and then it was gone. If we don't make that mistake on the 3-point shot and we score on the first 2 possessions of the second half, I think it's a completely different game. But that's something we have to learn. That's what, they have to learn that. I can tell them and tell them and tell them, but until you experience it, you learn that. So I've never seen a team with under 7 minutes to go in the game. Smitty showed me the stat sheet because I don't really look at the stat sheets during games. And he goes, they're shooting 92%. I don't
11 to 12.
I don't care. I don't care who you are. I've never seen it before.
You don't do that in a shoot around. For real. I mean, for real. You don't do that in a shoot around. The Greg Campy Show brought to you by Henry Ford Sports Medicine, the official team physicians for Oakland University and you. For more info, visit henryford.com/athlete. Camp, I wanted to bring this up because obviously it's relevant, and I think it really illustrates the start to the season, and it shows you the nature of college basketball. Golden Grizzlies right now are 62nd in the RPI rankings for college basketball. That is high. That is really high.
Yeah, it's good. The more important one is the net, and the first net rankings came out today, and we're at 106. If the sad part is if we would have won Saturday, we'd probably be in the 40s or 30s.
Right.
Fort Wayne, I think, is 70 something.
They're 58.
They're 58. They're 58 in the RPI and 70 something in the net with their win at Oakland. That's a huge win, right?
Right.
Because we were low. We had a really good ranking. We were 43 when we played the game on Saturday. And so we dropped to what, 70? What'd you say?
In terms of the RPI,
Yeah, we were 43 when we played the game Saturday.
62.
So we dropped to 62 with a home loss, which that's not bad because it shows, Fort Wayne was 7-1 or 8-1.
Right.
So, those things fluctuate a lot at this time of the year. Are they important? No. I mean, 2 years ago on Christmas, we were the #1 ranked RPI team in the country. And it's funny, we were 42 in the net, and we played our first league game and won. We played IUPU, I think it was, and we won, and we dropped from 42 to like 70 because they were like last. Right. So, but that year when we were 8-0 in the league, I think we were 8-0, lost a game, then won a game to go 9-1. We were, in the 60s in the net, which was, really, really good. And then we lost a couple games and we fell out of it. So that was just 2 years ago. It's not unprecedented, but it really is kind of meaningless until the end, it's like I told our team after the Xavier win, that it's a hell of a win, but it's a win you put in your back pocket until Selection Sunday. And if you get in, that's when that win helps you. That if we get in, we will not be a 16 or 15 seed because of that win over Xavier, because of a close loss to Illinois, a close loss to Ohio State, and plus we still got Michigan State and Dayton. And I won't be surprised if we win those games. I'll be a little disappointed if we don't. Obviously, we're 0-20 against Michigan State, so getting one eventually is going to happen, but it could be this year. So we still have those 2 games to play. I think we can win any game on our schedule, and we'll see what happens with all that RPI and that stuff. So it's really meaningless right now.
Camp, and again, I don't want it to get lost in the wash. We spent a lot of time on this Purdue-Fort Wayne game, but certainly Monday night we were not here at RJ's Pub in Rochester Hills because we were in Cincinnati beating Xavier on national television. So that's what we were up to on Monday night. And then as you talked about, you bounced back. And Camp, I mean, that's the number. You guys are 18-3 against Detroit Mercy in Horizon League play. 18-3, that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that, but in all honesty, I think it's time to let that go. Because I think after every one of those 18 wins, we might have lost the next game. It's somebody brought that up to me last year, and I kind of went, no way. And then I went back and looked, and we put so much into that game that the next game, and then again this week, the same thing happened. Now, I think the whole thing, the Xavier and all that, had a lot more to do with it than just Detroit. But I really believe that, it's great, but I think maybe some of that emphasis needs to be taken off that because we're 18-3 in it, right? We don't really recruit against them much anymore. The media's, everybody, even our fans. I mean, when we first got in the league, we would take 3,000-4,000 people to a game down there. Now we don't. We might have had 300 people there Wednesday night. Now I do realize it was a Wednesday and not a weekend, but I even think our fans are, not as. Yeah, we want to win that game and everything, but it's not like it was when we first got in the league. I think we've moved beyond it, so I'm probably going to de-emphasize it a little bit. I think it's a smart move on our part because we can't continue to lose the game after, especially the last game of the season this year, because the next game after it will be a conference tournament. So we surely, that's senior day, and that in itself will mean a lot anyways.
Camp, I did have one kind of ask Campy for you. Just looking at the RPI, and again, I'm going off RPI rankings here because I have them in front of me. But Purdue-Fort Wayne at 58, obviously us at 62, Youngstown at 125, Wright State at 152, Cleveland State at 161. Is the scheduling, call them mandate, scheduling philosophy of the Horizon League, is it working a little more? What's kind of your early season returns on that?
Well, I think that has to be analyzed at the end of the year. We do have 3 teams right now in the bottom 20, which is, that's what the mandate is supposed to keep us from having. Because what happens in net and RPI is when you beat, a team that's 330 or 335, it actually hurts you. Unless you win it by 25 or 30 points. And who wins league games? Oh, IUPU, I guess, or Fort Wayne does, I guess, because they did it to us. But normally you don't win league games by that kind of a margin, right? So it's you don't want anybody in your league down at that level because it hurts you in this. And again, all this does is seed you. This is the reason it's important is for seeding, having a chance to win in the NCAA tournament, and that's why everybody talks about it. So it might be working because it looks like, I mean, we've got, 7 teams or 6 teams and one less than 200, which is good. But we have those 3 teams that are still down at the bottom. And, Detroit's, they're in obviously a rebuilding mode, and they've played a very difficult schedule. Their schedule maybe is harder than ours or equally hard to ours. And, they haven't gotten any wins, so that hurts, the thing. But the other 2 teams, Milwaukee and IUPUI, it's a shock that Milwaukee's down there. When I saw that, I was like, what? Because I really haven't paid that much attention because they were picked first or second in our league by a lot of people. And I heard that B.J. Freeman, their best player, is hurt, and maybe that's got something to do with it. But they won't be down there when the season's over. We just got to hope that Detroit figures it out and IUPUI figures it out.
All right, Camp, when we come back, we'll be joined by Jack Goki here at RJ's Pub in Rochester Hills. And there's some Ask Jack questions that are out there as well on Twitter. We'll get to that. Even a former Horizon League rival has sent in a question. So we'll discuss that. Graham Vasily has sent in an Ask Campy question. That may be a first for the show. But we'll be right back. Jack Goki will join us. You're listening to the Greg Campy Show. We're live at RJ's Pub in Rochester Hills. Welcome to RJ's Pub here in Rochester Hills, the Greg Campy Show. Neil Rule, Jack Goki, our special guest here today. Nice hand. As always, the Greg Campy Show brought to you by the Pino Insurance Agency, LLC of Mimic Insurance. They cater to the educational market. If you're looking for affordable insurance and a knowledgeable insurance agency, go online to pinoinsurance.com today. That's P-I-N-O insurance.com today. Jenny Hoy-Natsky, our producer, back at our 1270 The Bet Studios. And right now, as promised, we are joined by Jack Goki. And Jack, I've been looking forward to this conversation for a very, very long time. Love cutting it up with you. And the first question that I have for you, we have questions on Twitter for you, by the way, that we're going to get to. But welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to say thanks to everyone for being here, and thanks to everyone who comes to the games. It's been really cool to join a program that gets that kind of support. And coming from where I came from, that wasn't always the case. So thank you to everyone for always showing out.
No, absolutely. But Jack, I love talking to shooters, and I love talking about the psychology of shooting. You are a volume guy. When you come into the game, when you start the game here for the Golden Grizzlies, I always wonder about that too. You're a transfer from Hillsdale, for those that don't know. Sometimes you might see guys that come here to Division I and boom, they're out there on the court and they're playing at Xavier, at Ohio State, at Illinois. It might be like, wow, look at all these people, look at all these lights. Now you're firing.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely have had a wild career, coming from Hillsdale, playing in front of 100, 200 people, and then going to those environments. But I really just love basketball. I just love playing, going out there and competing with my teammates. And at the end of the day, what I've always dreamed of is having those opportunities to play at a Illinois or Ohio State or Michigan State later in the year. So when I get in that situation, it's just kind of the most fun scenario I could imagine myself in. So I'm kind of just trying to soak it up and just go out there and compete with my teammates. And glad we got a win at Xavier, and I'm hoping we can get a couple more on those stages.
So I have to ask you about that, right? You talk about dreaming of being in those scenarios and dreaming of being in those environments. So you walk out at Ohio State to start the season. You make 6 threes. You give Ohio State 18 points in your very first game in Division I. Did you think to yourself, wow, like this is a little easier than I thought it was, or what was your impression when you walked away and it really sank in?
I wouldn't say I thought this was easier than I thought it was. That was a fun game. There was one play down the stretch where I feel like if I would have came up with the rebound, we would have had a real chance to win. But I really came out of it, and this is how I come out of most games, thinking, geez, I should have made a couple more shots and then we would have won. That's kind of my mentality, is I always expect a lot out of myself. And that was just a really fun environment, and really wish we could have got the win. But at the end of the day, I think it kind of helped us build and move forward for the next one.
Joined by Jack Goki here on the Greg Campy Show. We're live at RJ's Pub in Rochester Hills. And Jack, we've had some questions that have come in on Twitter for you. You comfortable with answering a couple of these questions?
Let's do it.
Because it's a lot. And I would say it's probably the most that we've ever gotten for a player. And a name Golden Grizzlies fans might remember, probably don't like to remember sometimes. But Grant Basili wants to know, hashtag Ask Campy, I guess this would be Ask Jack too, wants to know, quote, did Gohlke list himself at 6'3"? Is that an official measurement? It seems generous watching him on television. Your thoughts?
Well, I'd like to answer that by saying he knows me pretty well, so he knows that I am 6'3" on the dot, and that's what the program is going to say. That's what I was measured at, so I'm 6'3".
For those that don't know, give the background, your relationship.
Yeah,
with
so Grant and I are from the exact same hometown. We grew up together, played basketball on the same team ever since we started playing basketball in kindergarten. So that's my best friend. He's obviously had a great career at Wright State, had a great year at Virginia Tech for his last year, and he's doing really well over in Italy right now. So shout out to Grant.
that was pretty good. That was pretty good that you guys roll like that. Psychology of a shooter, Jack. And as I talked about, you're a volume guy and you're not shy about it. You're going to let it go. What's your answer when you? I want to know, what's it like when you're 6 for 6, and what's it like when you're 0 for 6? What's the difference in the feelings, other than man, I'm hot, or man, this sucks?
Yeah, for me, there's a big difference in a practice 0 for 6 and a game 0 for 6, or a practice 6 for 6 and a game 6 for 6. When I'm in practice or working out on my own, I am probably overly harsh on myself, kicking balls, throwing things, probably freaking out a little too much. When I'm in the game, I try to just be as level-headed as possible. Hey, I might have missed 12 in a row, but I know every shot I've put up in practice, every shot I put up in games, I've done it. I've done the reps. So I'm just comfortable out there with whatever the result is. I know that I went through the process, and I'm a super process-oriented guy. My guy Bobby over there, he's in the gym with me every single day. So I think as a shooter, you have to think that way. You can't base all your results on whether your one shot went down. You got to have the mindset of, I put in this work, so eventually they're going to start falling, and I'm just going to keep going out there and doing my thing.
We got one from here on Twitter from quote Baboon Mountain. I didn't come up with the name. That's their name. This was originally designated for Coach Campy, but I'll ask you since you're sitting right here. Tie game, last shot. Would you rather have prime Michael Jordan shoot the shot or Jack Goki?
Well, I'm going to say Jack Goki because
yes, that's the answer I was looking for.
I can control that outcome. I know everyone else is going to say Michael Jordan, but that's kind of the psychology of being a shooter.
No, and Jack, like, look, that's what I want to get to. Like, you guys are built different than most people. Even if you're at the tail end of an 0 for 12 and it comes down to that. That's why I love shooters, because there is no memory, right? That next one is going in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of part of the psychology of it is you might have a really rough game, and after the game, I might be mad at myself for an 0 for 12. But what really happens is the next day after that, I'm mad at myself for being mad at myself for an 0 for 12, because I know that at the end of the day, my percentages are going to end up at whatever I'm shooting. The process is going to be the process, so I just need to relax, go out there, do my thing, and kind of just go shoot, follow through, go through the process. It's all just a process.
Jack, this one's from Neil at RJ's Pub, and he wants to know this: what's it like playing in Greg Campy's system as a knockdown 3-point shooter? Because you get all the shots in the world that you could ever want. What's that like?
It's a dream come true, honestly. We brought up Grant earlier, so I've watched a lot of Horizon League basketball in my day, and I would be watching Oakland and seeing kind of how he uses those shooters. And when I was at Hillsdale, I was like, dang, that would be such a fun way to play. I loved how we played at Hillsdale, but coming in here and having that green light, being able to go out there and try to make things happen, it definitely has been a dream come true. And it's something that I've worked hard to be able to put myself in a situation to where I can go out there and make those type of shots.
Yeah. I got a text from somebody. Turns out one of your junior varsity coaches is a mutual friend of mine, and he saw a tweet on Twitter that you were going to be on the show, and he wanted to know. This comes from Ryan Gardner, who was a junior varsity coach of yours. Says, ask him if layups are too easy and if that's why he doesn't shoot them.
If I'm being honest, everyone in the crowd, everyone who's listening out there, I would much rather take a contested 3 than a contested layup. I'm much more comfortable on making a contested 3 than a contested layup.
Also on Twitter, and I told you this guy's become like a Twitter X, whatever you want to call it, celebrity. Questions just flying in. Jack, Oakland has a strong history of producing recent NBA talent, but the way you can knock down 3-point shots, could you be next? That comes from the nightcap.
I do not consider myself, or have never considered the NBA one of my goals. This year's going to be a ton of fun, and I just want to be as successful as we can this year. And I do want to play professionally, but I'm not hoping or wishing for the NBA. I'm just hoping to, like I said, it's all a process. Just keep putting in as much work as I possibly can, and the chips will fall where they may.
People also want to know, Jimmy wants to know, how do you handle the noise and the hassle from the visiting student sections when you're on the road? Because we've gotten a taste of it. The best ones in the nation, Illinois, those people were crazy.
Yeah, honestly, that's my favorite thing is to play on the road in an environment like that. It is a ton of fun when you have your home fans and your home building is rocking. But when you're on the road and you can shut up a visiting student section, they've been talking to you during warm-ups, during the pregame, all that stuff. That's my favorite thing to do, is shut up a visiting student section, hit a couple big shots in front of them, and kind of just stare them down, whatever it is, talk some crap. That's a ton of fun.
What student section has done the most homework? Has anybody gotten like
Illinois did a pretty good job. When we were at Detroit, there's a couple people just calling me old man, all that type of stuff, that's a fair criticism. So I respect that one. But I think talking to some of the other guys, I know Blake's gotten it pretty bad at some places, so I'm kind of hoping that they do the same for me.
More Ask Jack tweets coming in. Man, might have to rename the show here. Wesley V. Is Jack familiar with the history of great shooters at Oakland, Kangas, Bader, Hooper, etc.? Have you seen any tape on those guys in Campy's offense? And do you learn anything from those guys in the challenge of every team? And look, we saw this at Illinois with Terrence Shannon. It was his life mission to not let you have an open 3-point shot. Just how do you handle that challenge of a guy that knows what you're about and is trying to stop that?
Yeah, that was quite the challenge for sure. He's a tremendous athlete, tremendous defender, great player. I was honestly surprised coming into the game that after only one game with Oakland that I was being scouted like that. And after the game, Coach Underwood said to me, it was our game plan to stop you. We didn't care about anything else. And I was surprised by that. I was like, why didn't you let me get a couple shots, like guard Trey or something? But that was definitely surprising. But at the end of the day, that's something that I've gone against at different levels. He was obviously another step above, but that's something you always prepare for, and that's kind of why you work on shooting off screens and off balance, all that type of stuff. To answer his other question, I definitely knew about the other Oakland shooters. That's anyone who is a shooter as a kid growing up knows about all those guys, and Bader and Hooper, they were nice enough to reach out while Coach Campy was recruiting me and after the fact when I was here in the summer. And they sent me some tape to talk to me a little bit about their process, how they got better over their years, and kind of what it's like playing for Coach Campy. So really appreciate kind of the connection of the program and those guys being able to do that.
One more for you here, because that makes me curious. With the way you play and the shots and the shooter that you are, was there any recruitment that needed to be done to come here to Oakland? For real, just be. I know you got to act like I don't know, but for real. Were you coming here the whole time?
I was going to come here the whole time. Coach Tharp, my coach at Hillsdale, knows Coach Campy, and it all just kind of worked out, perfect storm. And obviously, I'm very glad to end up here and be with the great guys, great coaching staff. It's been awesome.
Well, Jack, that was probably the fastest interview segment in the history of the Jack Goki Show. We're renaming this segment. It is the Jack Goki Show. No, but Jack, I do appreciate you coming up here, man. You're a lot of fun to chop it up with, and we'll be talking to you again soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thanks, Neil. And once again, thanks, everyone, for being here. It's great to see everyone.
Give it up to Jack Goki, everybody. Here on the Greg Campy Show, we'll be back with the Ask Campy portion of the show. Get those tweets in there. You're listening to the Greg Campy Show. We're live at RJ's Pub in Rochester Hills. Welcome back to RJ's Pub here in Rochester Hills. It is a Greg Campy Show. He is a Coach Greg Campy. My name is Neil Rule. Happy to have you with us. Remember, shoot a tweet. Still a couple of seconds left. Shoot your tweet with the hashtag #AskCampy. We'll get those questions out there to you. And remember, the Greg Campy Show is brought to you by Prairie Farms, celebrating 85 years of feeding American families. All right, Camp, we have 16 Ask Campy questions for this week.
That means I got to answer quickly. I'm not very good at that quick stuff.
I know you're not.
I do want to say one thing, though. One of the things Jack said in there is one of the things that probably I'm the most proud of our program is when he talked about Bader and Hooper reaching out to him. Rocket was struggling earlier in the year, and Kay Felder is in China right now, and he's killing it in China. And I'm laying in my bed at 2 a.m. I don't know, maybe it was after the Walsh game or something like that. I couldn't sleep, and my phone lights up, and I look, and it's Kay, and he's like, "I need Rocket's cell number." I go, "Yeah, I got it for you." And he says, "What's wrong with that kid?" And I said, "You gonna call him?" He goes, "Yeah, I got him." And that the history of our program, the kids, sticking with our program and worrying about the players in the program, and calling Jack and trying to help him with how to play for me, or what they did and what to expect, and those types of things, and the family that we have is probably one of the things I'm most proud of. And Joe, average fan, really doesn't know that's going on. Lampman's been hurt, right? But you come to practice every day, he's standing there, he's trying to help, there's no, you're this and this. Lampman probably knows our zone better than I do after 5 years in it, right? And he's out on the court. He wants to play badly, but he's out there. If you sat on our bench during the game and could hear him talking, the way our players hang with each other, and the history of that is probably the thing that, when people say, well, that's probably the thing I'd be most proud of.
All right, Camp, let's rock and roll here. Pittsburgh Marty leading us off. As a fan, I'm really pleased with such a positive start to the season. Everyone's playing hard. There looks to be good chemistry. As you finish out the non-conference portion of the schedule, what are the 2 areas where you'd like to see growth in this team?
Well, we just got to survive the rest of it now. We get a week. After this week, we get a week of exams, and it's hard to keep their concentration, but it's also a time to improve. And, I mentioned this earlier in the year in a show, and I've mentioned it to my team maybe 2 or 3 times. One of the things that I think as a coach that you get so caught up in is that you want to, we didn't do this very well, and you want to fix it and try and improve it. And what you do is you stop working on the things that you do well. You've got to coach the things you do well so that there's not an erosion of that. And so, like, I had a meeting with our analytical team today. We were a third of the way through the season, so we're looking at the analytics of where we're at and everything. And by the way, we're a top 100 offense in the country. We were the 85th best defense in the country. Saturday changed that. You give up 98 points and 16 to 25 from the 3. That changed that analytic of it. But before Saturday, we were in everything. Where are we giving up baskets? And it's basically. The only thing that we're not doing well is transition, which is why we're trying to play at a slower pace, because we know, so all those things we're trying to fix and look at, but we got to coach what we're good at. We got to keep the reason we played these games the way we've played them, the reason we beat Xavier, the reason we're doing what we're doing is we're real good at a lot of things, and we got to keep getting good at them, Marty. We can't go, well, how did they get those shots Saturday? Worry about all that. No, we just keep playing, keep doing what we do. We were really good at it. We had a bad day, but what are we doing great? Okay, let's coach what we're doing great so we continue to be great at it.
The Nightcapper says, hey, Coach, a lifetime Golden Grizzlies fan tuning in from Miami, Florida. Have we looked into playing man defense against teams that seem to be comfortable against his own, like Fort Wayne on Saturday? Seems like it may be a good idea as we get further into conference play.
Yeah, that might be a good idea if we could guard man-to-man, but we don't practice guarding man-to-man. So now we do some man-to-man, and it's hard to tell if you're watching us. The way we play the zone, there are times we're not playing the zone. We're playing man-to-man, and we're switching everything when we do it. We probably played in the game Saturday. We probably played 14 possessions of the 70-some possessions. We probably played 14 possessions of man-to-man, and you may not have known it. Obviously, by the question, you didn't know it. The only time you're going to see us play man-to-man is if something like Saturday's going on and we're trying to change it up, throw something at it. Maybe a team scores 4 times in a row, so we'll give them a different look. We'll play a possession or 2 of man-to-man. Usually, like in the Ohio State game, we were ahead of Ohio State. They scored a couple times in a row, got it back to a 4-point game, and we came out. We were at the free throw line, and we changed. We said we're going to play man-to-man until they score. And I think we played 3 straight possessions of man-to-man. And then move back to the zone as soon as they score. Our zone is really good. Can I read a text to you?
Sure.
I just got this a few minutes ago. Okay. Do you people know who Mick Cronin is? And people know who Mick Cronin is?
Yeah, old coach, yeah, long-time coach.
All right. Mick Cronin's the head coach at UCLA. Okay. Mick, he's a very good friend of mine. Mick, any chance we could get a game next year? My brother lives in LA, and I'd love to come out there. We lose our whole starting lineup, so we won't be very good, but we'll try and be competitive. Okay? That's me writing to him. Camp, congratulations on the win at Xavier. Pepperdine and Loyola will give you a bye game, not the Bruins. We have too much respect for you. That matchup zone looks devastating this year. You'll get some transfers. On a positive note, let me know when you visit because I can get you on LA Country Club. So that's what people think of our zone, okay? That's what people think of our zone. No, we're not going to play man-to-man. We're going to play our zone because we're really good at it.
He also wanted to know, can you speak on your affiliation with Dr. Pepper and why you choose it over other colas? He calls it cola, so you know that he's down in Florida. But says, I don't think you need to go sugar-free if you don't want to, Camp. You're looking good out there.
Well, I need the sugar-free, but obviously he's never had a Diet Dr. Pepper, because if you've had one, you would never, once you have one, you can't drink anything else. Like I'm sipping this, it's terrible. But I'm sipping it because I need something.
Baboon Mountain had a question for Jack's got a question for you as well. Coach, what game are you most excited for this year? And also, what is your favorite type of bean? Mine have to be garbanzo beans with lima beans following closely behind. This is real. So you can look at it yourself.
We've really digressed to this, huh?
Yeah.
My most important game is the next one.
Okay.
So it's Toledo, and then on Friday.
I don't think you really want to know that. You want to know about the bean.
I don't like beans. I'll eat chili with beans in it, but I don't eat anything green. So there are beans that aren't green, though, but I don't eat anything green. So
red beans, kidney beans.
Red beans and rice. There you go.
I
love red beans and rice.
I'm glad we could talk through that. So we got that figured out.
That's a hell of a question.
Barb, who is here in the house as usual, says, I've heard you say it's extremely difficult to play point guard for you. What do you require of your point guards or do different with your point guards that make playing the position for you so difficult?
I want them to be me. And there are a lot of times I don't like myself, so how am I going to like them, right? No, there's a very high expectation if you play the point. I want the ball in your hands all the time, and I want you to do exactly what I want you to do and understand exactly what I want, and then I let you go. And that's kind of that Kay Felder story. He knows that, and that's what he wanted to talk to Rocket about. Hey, you got to do these things, and then you'll have the freedom. By the time you're in this program and playing the point guard, the Jalen Moores, the Kay Felders, the Jonathan Jones, the Ty McGregors, the Brian Gregory's all the way back 30 years ago, they had total freedom once they understood what I wanted. And my teaching techniques to point guards is a lot different to everybody else. I'm very, very difficult on them because I expect we're going to win or lose because of them. And now I'm changing because you have to change in this day and age. But most of those guys experience that, and it's kind of a brotherhood. Those guys all kind of stick together, and that's why they call each other and do the things they do.
Also here, too, I'm wrapping this all into one. It's Rob Brooks, who's here today, Gary Gilbert, and Horizon Matt. Basically want to know any update on the injury situation, certainly with Blake Lampman and Tone Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, again, in Tone's case, we're just 2 days into it. The ankle this morning when I saw it, a lot of swelling, and he's getting the discolorization in the ankle, and that's good. You want that purple, that black and blue in the ankle. That shows it's healing, and he's got that already, so that's a good sign that it's not going to be a prolonged, 8 weeks. So very similar to what Xavier Banks and Cooper Craig. It's very similar to the same injury. They were out 6 to 8 weeks. I don't think Tone's going to be out that long just because of the appearance of it today. Jim, our trainer, told me today he's hoping Michigan State, Dayton, but he can't guarantee it. So, hopefully by Milwaukee and Green Bay, or Cleveland State and Youngstown after Christmas for sure, but maybe Green Bay or Michigan State and we got so many games I can't remember, but Michigan State and Dayton, maybe those two. Blake Lampman, we'll know tomorrow. We'll know tomorrow probably. He practiced today for the first time. Didn't do a lot of the defensive stuff because that's what we're worried about, the sliding and the moving of the hip. He looked really good at the offensive end. Obviously, he hasn't shot live in a month, so he's not going to make any. If he does play Wednesday night, if he's okay tomorrow, I'm going to try and play him Wednesday night, bring him off the bench for 3 minutes here or there, maybe get him 8 to 10 minutes just to get him back in playing shape. I wouldn't expect him to make a shot. I would expect to see him tired. I will tell you this. Today at practice, our defense was 10 times better. As good as I believe our defense is, with him on the floor, I thought it was 10 times better because of his verbalization and telling people what to do and where to go. We were getting ready on what Toledo does, and he told somebody to do something. And Smitty looked at me and said, "Is that what you want?" And I said, "Blake wants that. I want it." because he's a guy. They're the ones out there. I may not like that way of guarding this little ball screen action they had, but if the players are comfortable with it, then they're going to get it done. So having a guy like Blake on the floor is just, he's a very, very important player to us. And getting him back would really help us. Like I said, it's going to be a few games before he's knocking down shots the way we want him to knock down. But one of the things that will happen, every year against Toledo, Blake has been really good. He's had great shooting games against Toledo. So I guarantee you, if he goes out on the floor Wednesday night, they're going to guard him like they guard Gohlke. And if we've got a defense guarding both those guys like that, Trey and Chris and Baru, and those guys are going to be on their own down there. And we're really good when they're on their own.
Gary Gilbert also said, congratulations, Coach, on being honored by the Board of Trustees today for your 40 years of coaching at Oakland University. That's why you have the suit on right now? So it wasn't a job interview or anything like that? Okay.
It was just being old.
Okay.
When you get old, people, they want to pat you on the back and say it's really nice. I just hope they're not thinking, now will you retire, I don't know if they are or not, but.
Let's do one more, then we'll go to the break, and then we'll come back and we'll clean up the last couple that we have, and then we'll talk about the tour of the MAC this week. Cardano Ja says, hey, Coach Campy, new fan this year from Las Vegas. We got a lot of fans in the exotic, Miami and Vegas and stuff like that.
When you start the season 8-0 against the spread, you're probably going to get a lot of Las Vegas fans.
A lot of Las Vegas fans would say that. New fan this year from Las Vegas, Coach. What would you say is different about this team than the previous teams that you've coached? I was very impressed with your win over Xavier.
Well, I think this team's a little bit different than any one that we've had in the most recent years because we're playing at a much slower pace. And we're playing more bully ball, even though Gohlke can shoot the three, Lamb can shoot the three, DQ Cole can shoot the three. We're not living on that. We're playing from the inside out. We got back in the game Saturday despite everything that happened by playing at the rim out. And I think that anytime you play from the rim out, you've got a chance to win any game you're in if you have quality players. There's no one in our league that can guard Chris Conway or Trey Townsend one-on-one. Xavier found that out, right? If you haven't heard Sean Miller's, the coach at Xavier's post-game interview, you should go Google that post-game interview and listen to what he says. And, so they're going to have to double or they're going to have to go along, let them go in there. And, Fort Wayne doubled hard. Who knows what everybody else will do, but that's what's different. So if we got time, I got to tell you a Vegas story sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do this then. We will take our final break of the night, come back, clean up these Ask Campy questions because there's still a ton coming in. We'll take a look ahead. You're listening to the Greg Campy Show. We are live at RJ's Pub in Rochester Hills. Rochester Hills. If you haven't been by RJ's Pub here in Rochester Hills lately, come on through here. They redid the TV wall. It's incredible in here. They have the daily specials as well. Coach Campy approves, and certainly mention the Greg Campy Show and get the season fries. Those are two of the things that you have to do. But Cam, tons of questions coming in.
The bear is crooked. We gotta straighten it.
Get Russ over.
For us, we gotta straighten that bear up there, man. Come on.
Get the leveler out. Let's go to work.
I want to tell that Vegas story, so let's get through these questions.
Okay, let's do it. Taken Cookies wants to know, Coach, could you please elaborate on the similarities between Gohlke and Oakland legend Max Hooper?
Well, I want to coach Jack the rest of the year first, so that at the end of the season we'll do that. Ask him to send that back in at the time. Right now, the thing I like about Jack the most is he's not afraid. And, if all the games that we've played that have come down to the wire, and let's see, we've played 9 games, and I think 7 of them have come down to the wire. In all 7 of them, win or loss, he's made a huge 3 in the last 3 to 4 minutes of those games, and one that maybe shouldn't even have been taken, and yet he's got the courage to take it and make it. Hooper was very similar to that, but I want to wait and coach him for a year, because, if he goes into crapper, then we'll say, who, Jack who?
Yeah, you kind of eradicated him from the books, yeah.
Jack? Yeah.
Never heard of
Kid
him.
from Hillsdale.
Yeah, never heard of him. Stephen Hawking says, Camp, are you a drums or a flats guy in relation to chicken wings? And also, do you dunk them in mayo like the rest of us?
No, I'm a drums guy, and I don't dunk them in anything. I order the sauce on them, and I eat it the way it's cooked. There's no dunking in it. I'm 5'9". I'm not a dunker.
All right, Jimmy Kennedy wants to know, how do you and your coaching staff usually prepare for your team with multiple breaks in the schedule during holidays and exams, etc.?
Well, it's a tough time, the exam time. The rest of the time, it's our job. That's what we do. We prepare the whole year round. Like Bobby has the Toledo scout. He did all the prep today with the team, but he could have done it last week. He's got it done in advance. They all know which game they're scouting. They're all on top of it. They know that if they do a good job, my staff knows if they do a good job, we have a chance to win. And like our players know is my staff's working their tails off to give you this. You've got to take it, learn it, take it from the film room to the practice court, from the practice court to the game. We didn't do that Saturday, but it wasn't mental. It was more physical. We just weren't there physically. But, we gave up a wide open 3 the first play of the game, and it just got worse for a while. But I don't think that it had anything to do with the scarring. It was just 3 games in 5 days and the emotion of it. So sometimes your body just won't go where your mind tells you to.
Andrew says, thoughts on NCAA conference realignment? Seems like schools are only looking at potential football matchups and revenue. How is this going to affect basketball? Most importantly, do you see this as a positive or a negative for mid-majors? Thanks, Coach Campy.
It's definitely a negative for the mid-majors, like we've talked about here in scheduling. Izzo and I are talking about, taking our yearly game, and I'm worried when the contract's up that Big Ten's going to be playing 24 league games, and they've got, he's got to play at home, he's got to play the Big East, that Champions Classic, he's got to play any, Big East challenge and games like that, and we might get squeezed out. And then, of course, there's people that think we shouldn't be in the NCAA tournament. You never know. I mean, what happened in college football with Florida State last night, and I mean, it's creating a storm that, who knows. When a hurricane comes through, man, you don't even know where your car is, right? So I have no idea what's going to happen, and we just got to fight through it. We got to win every game we play against those teams to show we belong.
And Cam, just as a kind of a follow-up on that, you're seeing it work its way into basketball. And I'll talk about Gonzaga joining the Big 12 as a basketball-only member. You will begin to see this, and you'll probably continue to see it, right?
Well, it's all based on money. And money's going to mean more because you're going to see, when we go to contracts with players, there's going to be money involved in players getting, hardballs out there right now saying that the Big Ten championship game, the players should have gotten some money. You've got all the people advocating for that. Whether that's right or wrong, I'm not an advocate. I'm not going to voice my opinion either way. But it's out there, and it's a big snowball that's rolling down the hill, and who knows who that's going to smash and who's it's going to skip over. And, so we don't know what's going to happen. I love the sport. I love the game. I love my team. I love Oakland University. I'm just going to do the best I can. Status quo to keep going. And then if they tell me I got to go here, I got to go there, I'll go. I'm not going to change it. I've been on a lot of committees in my life, and I know I ain't changing anything. They got us on those committees to tell us what's happening. They don't have, they ask us what we think, and
then do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I got it. I need to hear the Vegas story.
All right, so about 3 or 4 years ago, it might be a little longer than that, we led the nation in covering the spread, and we also had more overs than unders, right? So you bet Oakland to cover the spread, and you bet the over on Oakland because we didn't guard anybody, but we would win, right? So Lon Kruger has a Coaches versus Cancer event in Las Vegas, and you spend 2 days out there in the MGM Grand. And I took a buddy of mine, Neil Weissman, out there. And so it's 10 o'clock in the morning. We're playing golf at noon for the event, and so we sit down at a blackjack table, and we're playing at 10 in the morning. The two of us and a very, very well-dressed, really good-looking guy. Not that I look that kind of stuff, but is sitting there, and we're playing. And my buddy Neil is a talker, so they get a conversation going, and he says to the guy, he says, what are you doing out here? And he goes, my wife she's presenting at the MGM or the Country Music Awards or some big music award thing that was out in what's out there, that the arena that's out there had just been built at the time.
Oh, the T-Mobile Arena?
T-Mobile Arena. She's at T-Mobile Arena, the Country Music Awards. She's a presenter. And Mike, oh, yeah, well, who is she? And I can never remember her name, but she was some big movie star, Jennifer Ashton or Austin.
Jennifer Aniston?
Yeah, that probably is. Okay. She a big shot?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really attractive lady?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
She
that's
just
who it
is.
was. That's who it was. And so the guy goes, he's going to go to the bathroom. He says, would you guys, watch my chips? I'm going. So we're sitting there. So my buddy pulls out his phone, and he pulls this actress up, and it's her, and he's sitting right there next to her. So my buddy's like, he's not lying. That's really him. He's all excited because he knows who this actress is, and I have no idea who she is. Okay. So he's sitting there, I'm sitting here, and Neil's sitting there, and they sit down, and we a good 2 hours, right? And he finally says to Neil, what do you do? And Neil says, he looks at me and goes, what do you do? And I go, I'm in education. And I don't want people to know I'm out there playing blackjack, right? And I'm playing for a lot more than he's playing for, and I found out he's worth 50,000 times more than I am. And I'm like, well, that's all you're playing for. But so my buddy, he can't keep quiet, right? So he's talking. He finally says to the guy, he says, he's not in education. And I go, oh, no. And the guy looks at him and goes, what? And he goes, that's Greg Campy, the basketball coach at Oakland. No, he goes, that's the basketball coach at Oakland University. And the guy goes like this, Campy? And I look up at him, I go, yeah. And he reaches across the table and goes, and he hugs me. And I'm like, what? And he goes, do you know how much money I've made on you this year? You guys cover the spread every time you play. That's honest God truth. I did not make a thing up in that. We only got one more minute.
We got one more minute. All right, Mac. Toledo, Eastern Michigan. No, the big games camp. Obviously, you're swimming in the recruiting waters with these programs.
Yeah, the starting point guard at Toledo is a kid that we wanted real bad. We didn't get. So he's from the UAD high school. So there's going to be emotion involved in that. We know each other. They know our player. It's and then Eastern Michigan's a Michigan school. You got to win those games. The recruiting battles. You have to win those games. So big week for us.
Anything else to add, Camp? Final 30 seconds of the show.
No, that guy didn't even ask for my number, though. I thought maybe he was going to, we would become friends now, and I could meet Jennifer, but never.
Got to cover a few more spreads before that.
He won this year, man. I'm expecting a call. I don't know.
All right, well, that will do it here from RJ's Pub in Rochester Hills. Big thank you to Jenny Wynotsky back in our 1270 The Bet Studios. Here as well on the Odyssey app. So for the head coach, Greg Campy, my name is Neil Rowe. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming out to the Greg Campy Show, live from RJ's Pub in Rochester Hills. Well, see you later. Thanks, Gene.